Golden Setups.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Golden Setups. I'm your host, Golden Focus, here with another next week setups. What we're going to do is we're going to start at US 30. We're going to work our way all the way up to SPY. We're going to try to do 30. We're going to do quite a lot. We're going to try to cover as much as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Next week's setups. Right now, we are looking at US 30 on the weekly. Looking at the weekly, this right now it looks like we're on the move up. Nice little inverse head and shoulders to the upside with US 30. And so, I got some fibs here, some fib extensions. Right now, it looks like we're moving up. I do have a target up here of 34K 107. All right, and I even have we have a most likely a secondary target right here at this fib level up here, and we have a big target. You can see my big target up here at 36K 561. We'll see if we get that this week. Not sure how clean it's going to be, but looks like we're at least on our way to this target number one. That's US 30. Looking at it on the weekly, let's see if I come down to the daily. I'm not really seeing anything different, but looks like we're on our way moving up. Let's look at AVGO. All right, AVGO. I got some fibs set up on the AVGO right now. Are we weak or are we strong right now? I would say that we are still. I mean, we had a huge rejection. We're looking at AVGO on the daily right here. We had a huge rejection here on Tuesday, and we've kind of been moving down ever since. But right now we're trying to power up. I'm going to go ahead and scale down here to the 1 hour here and see if there's any opportunities here. And this is what I'm watching. I got a 15-minute supply zone right over here. I want to see what happens once we hit the supply zone. Are we going to reject hard and continue to the downside? If so, if we are weak and we reject to the downside and this move continues, what I'm going to be looking for is a break below that trend line right there. That's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be looking for a break below that trend line. So anyhow, this is what I'm going to be watching for. Otherwise, we do have a little bit of a wedge pattern here. All right, just a little bit of a wedge pattern here. So, if we break above this trend line right here on AVGO, which is Broadcom, if we break above this, I wouldn't be surprised if we went ahead and hit this fib level right here, which would put us roughly around 823.41. All right, 823.41. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set an alert somewhere around here, just right around here. I'm going to add an alert. And so if we're strong, we're going to be hitting this alert to the upside. And I'm going to be looking for what's going to happen once we hit this, possibly looking to take a rejection back down to 823.41, this blue line right here. Otherwise, if we're going to continue to be weak here, we're first going to hit the bottom of the wedge. We're going to break down below that bottom of the wedge, and our first stop is going to be right here around 777.71. All right, let's look at Target, see how Target is doing. All right, we're looking at Target on the hourly. Is Target looking weak or strong? I'm going to go ahead and just jump to the daily real quick and look at what's going on here with Target. We got also some fib levels up with Target as well. Huge drop here. Looks like have we found the bottom yet? I don't know. It's hard to say. Typically, we tend to reset when we hit the 9. This red line right here on my chart is the 9-day moving average EMA. And this is the 20 up here. We tend to reset at the 9. So one thing I'm going to be paying attention to is what's going to be happening to this 23% level out here on the fibs. Can we move up to the 23% level? And then if we're going to be weak, I would imagine that we would go ahead and move down. But we may not. I don't know if we're going to have enough selling power there. We might have to hit the 9. Maybe the 9 might come down. If I see a correlation between the 9 and the 23% level, then I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a drop there. I'll go ahead and draw a trend line and just kind of track this price action right here and see what happens here. I'm going to be watching for what happens when we hit the 9. That may be a good possible setup if I do start to see weakness for a drop first to the 23% level right here, roughly around 135.72. If we continue to weak, we'll break down below this trend line, and then my next stop is going to be 131.29, and then we may be dropping much more further below. Hopefully Target gets their act together and they can start to retrace back to the upside. All right, let's look at, we actually have a gap over here. could we fill this gap this week if target begins to reverse course on with all the stuff that's going on there? We'll see. We're gonna have to wait and see. But that gap would be all the way up here at 145.94. Something major would have to happen, I would think. We're gonna have to wait, watch, and see. Let's check out Intel. We're looking at Intel on the daily. All right, looks like we were in a little bit of a channel for last several weeks, and now here we are. And so I have this trend line drawn right here. If we are going to be strong, I'm going to be looking for a nice little break above 31.51. If we can break above that, I'm going to be looking to target 32.20. We'll see how that turns out. We did break above this. We broke above this channel right here. Here's a 200. This purple line is a 200 moving average here on the daily, and we're right at it. So if we're strong, we're going to be moving up this way, and if we're weak, all right, is there a chance that we could be coming back down to the top of the channel? That's what I'm going to be watching for. Let me just look at the hourly real quick just to kind of get a good feel for that. And you can see, how we've been just bouncing off of the top of this channel here, man. Power of trend lines, man. Not these diagonal lines of support resistance. I swear by them all the time. But nevertheless, you can trade how you want to trade. But this is definitely in line with my style. I'm going to go ahead and draw a trend line over here, and I'm going to be watching this trend line to the downside for weakness. We break down below this trend line, I'm going to be looking at a bounce here or a possible quick scalp down to the top of this wedge right here, which would put me roughly around $31, somewhere around $31. And so we'll see how that plays out. Let's keep watching Intel. Let's look at Lockheed and Martin. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move up a time frame. Let's look at the daily on Lockheed and Martin just to see what's going on there. We were wedging a little bit, broke down severely below the wedge. That was a beautiful drop. Then after that, here we are on our way up. It looks like we found some buyers somewhere down here. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a demand zone. I'm gonna have to document that. We're on our way up. Looks like the 200-day average here on the daily. We've rejected it. Look at this: once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So here's 4 days. We've rejected it. We're on our way to it again. I think that we'll be able to find our way to get back up to roughly around 458.21. We're gonna have to really push up. It's gonna have to be some violence since we've worked really hard to get this far. But we've climbed the 9. Here we are above the 20, and I think right now we're looking strong. I got a supply zone up here, roughly starting at 458.85. all the way up to 459.92. Got a nice little supply zone there on the hourly. Let me come down to the hourly just to kind of get a nice little view here of what's going on. And yeah, that's nice. This is nice. You can see here, we've had a hard time closing below the 9 here on the hourly, and it looks like we got a nice little jog up to the supply zone. I think a really good setup is going to be, here's where that supply zone is coming from. It's coming from what's this, May 17th. All right, I think a really good setup is going to be either a nice little bull flag on the lower time frame up to the supply zone, and then B, a trend line break out of the supply zone, possibly down to 455.38 depending on the weakness. All right. Anyhow, that's looking really nice. I see 2 good setups there for Lockheed and Martin. Let's check out QQQ. All right, let me move back up to the daily. Look at QQQ on the daily. All right, looks like we got some gaps. We got some daily gaps down here on the daily. Daily gaps down here on the daily. That's not redundant at all. Anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and switch down to the hourly. Not really seeing any too much there on the daily, but looking at the hourly, looks like we're still moving up. Looks like we're still moving up. And so if we're weak, all right, are we weak or are we strong right now? I would have to say that we're fairly strong with Qualcomm. Doesn't mean that we can't be momentarily weak, but right now from what I'm seeing, it appears to look pretty strong. We do have an hourly supply zone up here, and so I want to see what's going to happen once we move up here. I think a good opportunity, nice little opportunity or setup would be, a nice scalp to, what is this, 116.22. Ultimate target, if we're strong, I'm looking at 116.77. If we are weak, we're going to break down below this trend line. Our first stop is going to be here, 115.47. Our next stop is roughly going to be somewhere around here, 115.17. And then ultimately, I have this target if we're weak, 114.71. That's what I'm going to be looking for. But you could target this fib line right here, 114.71. 87, and this is the what is this, the 50% mark here on the fibs. So that's what I'm looking at there with QQQ. I see some opportunities if we're going to be weak, if we're strong. If we break down below this trend line, great entry for a short or a put. And to the upside, you're just going to have to play it by eye and ear to be able to take your scalps up to the supply zone to see what happens. And if we happen to power up strongly through this, I like that word. If we happen to power up strongly up through this supply zone, I'm looking at this target out here, 116.77. Let's check out Bud Light. Bud Light finally is doing some corrections here, right? Doing some corrections. Let's look at the daily real quick. You know, Bud Light was an amazing swing that I took last week, and it worked out really good. And we just dropping gap. And here we are. We're trying to fill some gaps. We're on our way up right now, and looking at the fibs, we got a nice little bounce here. Where are we going next? Could we be looking at 55.38? We're gonna have to wait, watch, and see. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the hourly. Let's look at the hourly. So I'm switching from the daily to the hourly just so I can get a little bit more insight on what's going on here. And we got a nice little got a little trend line here, nice little jog up. You know, this is the daily gap right here between what's this, 56.05 and 56.97. Could we be going up to fill this gap? I think that's quite possible. I think that's really quite possible. I'm going to be looking for a bull flag to the upside to be able to take that. Otherwise, if we're going to continue to be weak, we could possibly just be doing a multi-day flag and then a drop. And if that's the case, we're looking at this fib line right over here, 52.88 on the way down. I'm going to be watching for that. Our first stop is going to be, a breakdown below the 9 and then breakdown below the 20, and then we'll have the trend line. After the trend line, then we're going to go ahead and start working our way down. But right now, I got to say we're looking fairly strong, and it's a nice little jog to the upside. We're going to see if we can go ahead and fill this gap here on Bud Light. All right, let's go ahead and look at Uber. All right, Uber is looking fairly strong right now. I got to say Uber is looking fairly strong. I still have a target up here at 40.41. Or 40.41, right around here. We're going to see if we can make it. Nice little push up. Last week we talked about having this push up. This actual target's here from last week, and so here we are. We're still working our way up to this target, 40.41. And yeah, that's all I got to say there. Uber's looking pretty strong, still working its way up. Let's look at Alibaba. All right, Alibaba was looking pretty weak. All right, was looking pretty weak. But what I'm seeing right now. All right, we had a nice little strong push up here, created a gap here, and which is here on the hourly. And here we are. We moved up. Looks like we had a hard time. Double topped over here on the hourly, and here we are moving down. Got a nice little. We've broken down below the 9 here on the hourly, and looks like I have 2 targets set up. First target is going to be roughly around 84.16. Next target, this is a more of a stretch target here, 83.83. And if we continue to fill the gap, we can take it all the way down. If I were you, I definitely would definitely be looking to take some scalps down to target 1, maybe a runner or 2 to target 2, and then have a nice runner to fill the gap. Gap isn't guaranteed. This season that we've been trading in, sometimes these gaps we like to touch the gap and then move up in the other direction. So we'll see if that's the case. But right now you can see we've broken this bear flag down to the downside, and looks like we're on our way to target 1, and we'll see if we can get to target 2. All right, that's Alibaba. Let's look at Roku. I don't remember seeing much here for Roku. Looking at the hourly, looks like we got a nice little jog to the upside. Not really much to report here on Roku. Are we weak? Are we strong? I think that we're strong based on what I'm seeing. Nice little retracement back to the 9 here on the hourly, and now we just gotta wait, watch, and see if we're gonna be breaking down lower. But everything seems to be moving. I don't want to say everything, but this tends to be moving up really nice. I wouldn't be surprised if we did end up moving all the way up to 62. What is it? 62.18. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the move. But we got to wait, watch, and see. Let me see, 62. We're going to put a target right up here. Oh, we're just going to call 62, let's say 62.10. All right, we'll add a nice little alert there. And let's see if we can get a bull flag to the upside. I'm going to go ahead and draw a trend line here. Let's see if we can get a bull flag to the upside. think this is a little too steep in my opinion. So I don't have any, I'm not touching any wicks, so I'm just kind of tracking the trend here. It's not going to be a solid trend line here, but we'll see. We'll see if we can go ahead and break up above this and move up to 62.10. And what I'll do here is I'll actually create another alert here for possible entry right here, add an alert there. So if we break up above here, my next stop is going to be up here, 60.92, and then after that, keeping a runner, swinging a runner. That's up to you. That's up to you. All right, let's go ahead here. Let's look at Netflix. All right, let's look at Netflix on the daily real quick. I want to see what's going on a higher time frame here. Not really much to report here. Netflix on the daily. Nice little steady move to the upside here. Finally, a nice green candle. Interestingly, we had a nice little bull flag break on the daily. That was beautiful back on Friday. And now here we are. Well, this was like, let's see, that was Friday of, this is 26. And now here we are. Are we continuing down, or are we going to continue to move down? We did come up into this daily demand zone here. Are we going to continue to move down? Let me go ahead and do a little surgery here, come down into the hourly. All right, looking at the hourly, looks like I have some trend lines here. And so if we're going to be strong, what I'm going to be looking for is I'm going to look for a break above this trend line right here. If we're going to be weak, I'm going to be looking for a break below this trend line right here. I'm going to set alerts on both of them just so I can stay abreast of what's going on with that, and possibly take some small scalps. If we break above here, what I'm going to be targeting, looking to target, I want to target right before we get up to the supply zone. So I'm going to add a target right over here if we're going to be strong. This is 406.69. If we're going to be weak, I'm going to be looking to target. Looks like I have this right already here, 393.24. All right, let's check out ExxonMobil. All right, check out ExxonMobil. We look to be with ExxonMobil. We are still. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the daily here. Looks like we are still in this parallel channel. We're still in this parallel channel. We're at the top of the channel right now. Looks like we're also at the right at the 20. Last time we were at the 20 in the top of the channel, we rejected and moved down. We moved down roughly halfway down the channel. We're back up here. Could we be powering up to get out the channel? I think that's going to be a really good opportunity if we do indeed do that. That's something I'm going to be watching for. Looking at the hourly, just coming down, doing a little bit more. Doing a little surgery here. Let's look at the hourly here. Yep, same thing. Here we are, right at the top of the channel. So I think this is the thing to watch. Are we going to break up to the, break up above the top of the channel, or are we going to go ahead and continue to move down? We got a demand zone down here. A demand zone roughly around 98.02 on the high side and 96.91 on the low side. So if we do happen to break down from here, you guys know where we're going. At the very minimum, target the middle of the channel if that's the case. All right, that's ExxonMobil. Looking at Bitcoin. Let's see what we got here. With Bitcoin, I like to look at it from the daily. Anything lower than that, it just doesn't give me enough accuracy. Yeah, looks like Bitcoin right now, we had a nice little big move. Looks like we're bull flagging, right? We had a nice little big move to the upside. Beautiful retracement, and here we are moving back up. I have my one target. If we're strong, we're going to be hitting this 29K835. That's what I'm looking at for a target to the upside. If we are going to be even stronger, I can see us moving all the way back up to 31K104 and possibly pressing up above. I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up happening this week, because there is a lot of opportunities to be able to move to the upside on some of these other tickers that I'm going to show you. But that doesn't mean that we want to have a bias, right? That doesn't mean. That's why I'm saying if we're strong, we're going to break above this trend line. If we're weak, we're going to break below this trend line. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at as far as Bitcoin is concerned. We want to wait for these conditions before we take a position. All right, let's look at silver real quick. Not really much to present here with silver outside of the fact that we're still in this parallel channel, and we've been channeling really nice with silver. With the parallel channel, you don't want to target from top all the way to bottom. You want to do top to middle, and you want to wait, and then after that you can do middle to bottom. Sometimes we'll go top to middle, and then after that we'll come back to the top. This is one of the reasons why the best way to kind of trade these channels is to go from top to middle or bottom to middle. The middle move sometimes can be a little weird, so you want to wait for confirmation. But if we are going to be moving down to the bottom of the channel, I would wait for a break below this trend line right here. We break below that trend line. At the very minimum, we want to be able to hit this this alert here, 22,595. Otherwise, we're going to be moving back up to the top of the channel here with silver. And yeah, this is the daily that we're looking at right now. So this would most likely be a swing and not an intraday trade. All right, let's look at gold. All right, looking at gold right now. Gold looks like a nice little head and shoulders pattern here. You know, gold kind of like turned around on us. Yeah, that turned around on us pretty badly. We're looking at, well, not badly. It depends on whether you're short. Went longer short, but we're looking at gold on the daily. Nice little head and shoulders pattern. One could argue. Let's go ahead and do a little surgery here. Come down to the hourly. All right, and we do have this. You can see that we have this supply zone down here. Okay, we do have the supply zone right around here. So if you are going to be short, this is what I would be targeting. But this is kind of like a very interesting zone right here. This zone right here is a very interesting zone. So I would wait for a sign of weakness. That means I want to wait for possibly a move to the downside or even a flag, a bear flag to the downside. You guys know I trade flags almost exclusively. So that's what I'm looking at. And that's how I see the charts, man. It helps me to see quite a lot, man, especially on top of support, resistance, demand, and supply zones. It's very eye-opening. And anyhow, that's what I'm looking for. I see that right now we're moving up. We're moving up as far as gold is concerned. I'm going to be looking at and paying attention to. Are we going to hit the 9 here on the hourly? What are we going to do when we hit the 9 up here? This trend line is going to be very important. Typically, if we are going to continue to be weak, we'll hit this trend line and then bounce back down. Otherwise, if we're going to be strong, being that we broke down below this trend line and we happen to break back up above it, that's going to be an immense sign of strength. Then we would have what we would call a higher low up here, and then we could begin to be able to see the start of a continuation to the upside. So we'll see. Could we be repairing this price action on our way up? Well, yeah. I mean, we got to wait and see. I want to see what we're going to do with this trend line. As far as a good setup would be concerned, first of all, is gold weak or strong? On the higher time frame, we talked about the possible head and shoulders, but here on the lower time frame, we got to wait for confirmation. All right, let's look at Meta. All right, looking at Meta right now. All right, is Meta looking weak or strong? Well, let's look at Meta on the daily. We kind of covered this quite a while back, and I'm actually going to look at it on the weekly here. And we talked about Meta quite extensively. And I was telling you guys a long time ago, look at this gap that we're trying to fill. Look at this gap. It's a huge gap, right? You can actually find that gap on the daily. All right, I'm going to look at this on the daily here. Here's the daily. This is where the gap is right here. All right, this is where the gap is. I even documented it. It was from 222.22. There's the gap right there. Could we be filling the entire gap? Is that possible? If that's the case, I'm going to be waiting for a bull flag setup to the upside, right? And you know, possible swing. If you're going to be swinging and waiting for the gap fill, you know, gap fill, I probably would swing something like what I would do. I would swing something like maybe 2 weeks out, possibly 3 weeks out if I want to be a little bit safer. That's what I would do, and I'd wait for some confirmation. Let's do a little surgery. Come down to the hourly. All right, and you can see here, I have a nice little flag set up here. Looks like we could be flagging to the upside, but right now, look, the way that we've broken down below the 20 this way, this looks a little bit weak right now. So if we are going to be strong, we're going to break above this trend line right here. Breaking above this trend line would be a great entry. First off, to kind of take it to, you know, this 274.53, then 275.35, or if you wanted to be able to swing from that point on, feel free to from there. All right, let's look at Microsoft. Windows. All right. Soon we're going to start seeing Microsoft Windows stickers on our food. All right, some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, right now you can see we got a nice little trend line to the upside here. Are we weak or are we strong? I would say right now I gotta say that we're pretty strong. I'm gonna look at the daily real quick, and then we'll come down and do a little surgery But right now, I got to say that we're looking pretty strong. Well, it looks like we hit this one of my alpha levels, my strong levels, 336.69. Beautiful rejection to the downside here. You know, what's a good setup? What's a good setup for Microsoft? Well, this is what I would see as a good setup for myself. All right, and what I would do, it looks like we're kind of curling. So I would be, I would be looking for some type of confirmation to the downside to be able to first hit this trend line. You know, we do have some levels here that we'll be hitting on the way there. First one, 334.26, next one, 332.24. And then after that, we have this trend line right around here. Now, I would not necessarily be looking to go short below this trend line, just being that we've been bouncing off this trend line quite a bit so far. So I would be wait watching and seeing. I think we're going to be headed up. If we continue to be strong, we're going to be heading up to the supply zone up here. This supply zone that I have on the daily is from 341.20 on the low side, and we have 344.19 on the high side. That's Microsoft. Let's go ahead and look at QQQ. All right, looking at QQQ, what we got here, looking at QQQ on the hourly, nice little bull flag setup to the upside if we're going to be strong. A lot of indecision here, and what looks to be like consolidation. And so, yeah, if we're going to be strong, I can see us pushing back up with the target to 355.86. You know, if you want to be conservative, you know, could we be possibly taking this daily gap? That's possible, but I'd be careful. You know, this gap starts right at where I have a key level here, 356.92. So if we do happen to move up, I think this is going to be a great place to take profits. I think this is a great place to take profits here, 355.81. I think this is a great place to take profits here, 356.92. And then after that, if you want to leave a runner, if you want to do the gap play, feel free. That's what I would do. But I do have some fibs set up here. If we are going to be weak, I would not be surprised if we came all the way back down into this demand zone that I have here on QQQ from 353.04 all the way down to 352.15. It's a 1 hour demand zone, and we're going to see if that's the case. But we do have the VWAP below us. Looks like we're trying to break down below the 9. But we are right now above the 9, above the 20, above the VWAP. And so we're going to have to wait, watch, and see. Let's check out AMD. All right. AMD, I gotta say, looks pretty weak in my opinion, at least in the short term. You know, it looks like we have, one could argue, a head and shoulders pattern here. Beautiful rejection out of the supply zone here that, you know, we've been following. And so here we are, nice little drop here, and now we moved up. Nice little bear flag here, and now here we are moving back down. I do have a target of 116.71. You know, I think that would be a nice good, I have a target there. That's a nice good target. Once we break that target, if we're going to continue to be weak, the next target would be the top of this gap. The top of this gap. I would not be quick to be able to think just, oh, we're going to take the gap entirely, because we have the 200-day moving average right over here. And so if that's the case here, I'm going to go ahead and I would go ahead and, you know, go and take a short play or put down to target half of the gap, and then watch to see how I can reposition to take the whole thing. So we'll see if that's the case. Are we going to have just a straight drop through? Man, I don't know. We're going to have to wait, watch, and see. But right now, I got to say AMD is looking fairly weak, and we have some opportunities there to the downside. Let's check out NVDA. All right. NVIDIA. We were watching this on our live trading on Friday, which I do every Friday for free. You guys feel free to join me, goldensetups.com, and you can scroll down to live trading. And looking at this, let me go ahead and delete some of these lines, because we were following it closely. You know, it looks like we have, one could argue, another head and shoulders, right? We got left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And then if we break down below this trend line here, you know, we do have a demand zone right here. This is another tricky thing. We do have a demand zone. And so if we're going to break down below this trend line here, and this head and shoulders is going to actually play out, it's going to have to be violent. And if it's going to be violent, it's going to be, you know, we're going to see this, we're going to see this cascade in other places as well. And we'll talk about that, you know, like your SPY, your SPX, or ES, whatever, right? We'll see that as well. But nevertheless, this is what we're looking at. I do have a target over here of 390.89. You know, if we're going to be weak, we're going to hit that target. We're going to break down. We're going to break down below. We're going to break down below that target. We're going to break down below this trend line right here. We're going to just eat through these buy orders. We might have a little issue. If we're not going to have an issue, it's going to have to be violent. And then after that, we have another target down here, 378.17, if we're going to continue to be weak. And then we have this daily gap, huge gap below us. Now, can we take that? Are we going to take that? I think, NVIDIA worked really hard with the whole AI craze to get up here. I don't know. So I would be careful trying to take this gap. That's NVIDIA. Let's check out Apple. All right, looking at Apple. Nice little move to the upside. Everything is looking really great right now. You can see I have a target right here for Apple. If we're going to be strong, 182.64. We're above the 9, above the 20, above the VWAP right now on the hourly. Things are looking nice and smooth. We do have a supply zone right here on Apple from 182.74 all the way up to 183.14. It's looking pretty nice. We got a demand zone below us, so if we happen to break this trend line and move down, a good target, I would take profits at 179.80. I'm not going to be holding. I wouldn't be holding long term. And so we'll see if that's the case. Otherwise, if we're going to be incredibly weak, then we're going to be having another target, maybe closely around 177.35. But we want to wait for confirmation. We want to see a break below the 9, break below the 20, break below the VWAP, break below this trend line, and even a break below this demand zone and this target. But right now, I got to say, we look fairly strong. A nice little move, nice little jog to the upside. This is what I'm going to be watching for. Is it going to be clean? I don't know. This is one of the reasons why I like to trade flags and flags exclusively, because I know when to get in, I know when to get out, and I know what my stop loss is. So let's go ahead and move on to Amazon. All right, looking at Amazon. Interesting. One could argue that we are moving nice and smoothly to the upside. I'm going to let's look at the daily. Let's look at the daily here at Amazon. I want to show you guys something. Check this out. So we kind of like broke this multi-month, multi-week trend line to the upside. And we're just moving up right now. We're just moving up. We have a daily gap over here. Let's zoom in. Let's come into here on the daily here, and let's kind of zoom in here, do a little surgery. All right, we do have a bit of a gap right over here. All right, and this gap, can we get up there? Can we fill it this week? I think it's possible. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. We're gonna have to hit this target first. But if we are going to be, in fact, weak, what we're going to see is I'm looking at this, I'm watching this trend line. If we're going to be weak right now, we're above the 9, but we're above the 20, but we're below the 9 and below the VWAP. So right now we are looking temporarily weak on the hourly, but nevertheless we are still moving up, right? We got a higher low here. We have a higher low here. Could we be setting up another higher low here? If we do set up a higher low, that's going to be great, because we'll be able to track the trend. We'll be able to draw a nice little trend line, and then we'll be able to pinpoint some weakness if we break down below that trend line. So that's as far as Amazon is concerned. We're going to keep watching Amazon. Let's check out Google. All right. Google is looking really nice. We got a nice little hourly supply zone, pretty thick in my opinion, but nevertheless, it's good to track. And so what am I looking like? If we're going to be strong, we're going to be breaking above this trend line here on the hourly. We want to target this right here. This is a 125.98 if we're going to be strong. Right now we are above the 20, but we're right below the 9 and below the VWAP. And so, tricky space to be able to tell whether or not, we're weak or we're strong. I'm going to be looking for entries above this trend line for strength. If we're going to be weak, I'm going to go ahead and, let it ride. I'm not really sure where we can go if we're weak, and so I don't like to chase candles per se, but if we are going to be weak, our first stop is going to be the 20, and then I have a fib line over here at 124.70. So we're going to have to watch and see what happens as far as Google is concerned. Let's look at Tesla. All right, Tesla's also looking fairly strong. We traded this on Friday together as well. Are we weak or are we strong as far as Tesla's concerned? Look at that Tesla at the hourly. I got to say, it looks fairly strong. You can see that we've had, problems closing below the 20, starting from June 1st. So it's fairly strong right now. We've been rejecting out of this supply zone. Could we continue to see a rejection? My next level to the downside is going to be 209.89. Can we drop that far? Tesla can be quite unpredictable. It can be quite unpredictable, so I can't rule it out. With Tesla, what I like to do is I like to look for, again, you guys hear me say it over and over again, I like to look for flags. That's what I like to look for. And are we seeing a flag develop on Tesla? Are we seeing that? Possibly. We got some good touches here on the wicks. On the hourly here, could we break up above and then hit this, 216.82? I think that's possible. But Tesla usually in the morning, it likes to do one thing in the morning, and then after that, course correct and move in a different direction. So we gotta wait, watch, and see. Tesla can be a little unpredictable, and so we gotta wait, watch, and see. Right now, as it stands, we're above the 20, above the 9, but we're below the VWAP. So we're gonna have to wait until tomorrow morning to see what's going on with Tesla. Let's look at SPX. Interesting thing with SPX here, right? Interesting thing. So what are we looking at right now? SPX is in a little bit. Let's switch over to the daily with SPX here. All right, we have a little bit of a channel here with SPX on the daily. All right, and so looking at SPX, we've been channeling up, nice little channel up. We filled an hour gap last week, and here we are reacting off of this daily supply zone. Nice, beautiful touch and rejection. Let's come down to the hourly and see what we can see for any type of setups to the upside. And right now, I really want to see what this is going to look like. Are we going to power through this, or are we going to go ahead and reject? I want to wait, watch, and see. If we do reject, we do have a gap below us over here on SPX, well, actually, this gap is a little bit. Now that I'm seeing it here on the hourly, wow, this gap is a little bit bigger there. So this is on the hourly. This is a pretty big gap, fairly big gap below us. We went ahead and filled this one. So I'm watching SPX. Good thing about SPX is look at ES. SPX, ES, and SPY, they all move in tandem. Same thing you could see with ES. We got a nice little supply zone. We got ES moving now on the hourly, and we're gonna see if this is actually gonna be. Are we looking at a bull flag to the upside? If so, I'm gonna go ahead and let me go ahead and draw a trend line here and track this. If that's the case, I want to see what's gonna happen here. Could we be flagging all the way to the 9, flagging to the 20, and then we get a move back up? That's a possibility. Otherwise, what do I have to guide me? I have my levels to guide me here, right? My next level to the downside here is going to be 42.83, all right? And below that, I have 42.68.5, all right? Otherwise, if we're going to be moving up, I'm going to be waiting for a break above this trend line to the upside. Look at the way we've been moving here, right? We've had a hard time closing below the 9. Really strong, hard time closing above 9. Right now we're above the 9, we're above the 9, we're above the 20, we're above these dots here, which are the VWAP. So I gotta say things look really strong right now. And let's check out SPY. Finally, SPY. All right, and SPY, same thing, moving up. We powered through a gap here on SPY. I'm gonna look at SPY on the daily here. All right, looking at SPY on the daily here. What am I seeing? Look at that. You guys remember this on SPY, right? We had this really bright white trend line, which we broke above. You can see this wedge that we've been in with SPY, right? We broke above the wedge, all right? And is it possible we can be moving all the way up to 430.93? I think that's possible. I think that's definitely possible. We're gonna wait, watch, and see if we do push up. There are a lot of other things that are gonna be pushing up with it, but I also want to be very careful and cautious around here, right? It's funny because on the news everywhere we're talking about is they're screaming things are gonna drop, things are sick. The bond market in relationship to the stock market, yeah, they're not lining up, and yes, things don't all the way look correct, and yes, we do have a lot of Fed injections coming in here. That's true. But we got to take everything one day at a time. We got to take everything one trade at a time. And we can't just look at the news and just hop into puts and look at the news and just hop into calls. So this is one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of technical analysis. And I keep my technical analysis fairly simple. I look at everything through the lens of my trade plan, which primarily stems around trading flags. And so anyhow, all right, so that's as far as that's concerned. I'm going to be waiting, watching, and seeing. We are at a very strong key level here, 428.91, and I need to go ahead and start finishing up my charting. Real quick, shout out to all those who took the trade education course here. By the way, at Golden Setups, we do some education here. We got charting the best levels, since I have to go ahead and finish up charting SPY. This is available for you guys to purchase and watch the video. For those of you guys who actually missed the live course itself, charting the best levels to keep you precise and profitable. Highly recommend that you check that out if you want to be able to do your own charting and be able to do your own technical analysis, keeping it really simple. I keep things very, very, very simple. My children actually watch this as they're learning how to trade as well, from the ages of 9 all the way up to 15. And I have 4 of them. I also have this one right here. This is a 3 ultra profitable golden setups to double your account. This was awesome, fantastic. And when you stack this on top of the second one, which is the chart the best levels, you can definitely see an improvement in an increase in your win rate. So anyhow, coming back to the charts, you know, like I said, I gotta go ahead and finish charting SPY. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. You guys could have been watching any video in the world, but you chose to hang around and stick to the end and watch us here with me. Again, feel free to join our free Telegram channel over here. You can go to goldensetups.com, click on social, and select free Telegram channel. In some point in the very near future, I am going to be opening up a Discord, and I'm going to be announcing it here. All right, and I'm going to be very selective on who joins. I'm not making this like a, you know, everybody and anyone can join or whatnot. That's just not my personality or whatnot. I want to have a good quality community. And so if you're interested in the way that I do technical analysis, you're interested in the way that we've been live trading together, make sure that you're a part of this free Telegram channel, because that's where I'm going to be announcing the Discord and you know, opening up membership for a few really good people. Anyhow, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Don't forget to trade the setup, trade confident, and of course, live life. Take care.
Golden Setups.